So I found this video, so it's from bodybuilding.com. It's how to train for mass Arnold Schwarzenegger's blueprint training program. So we're just gonna go through each workout at a time. I'm gonna explain what he's trying to say. Is it good info? Is it bad info? And it's kind of like, see, like, you know, how right was Arnold from back in the day? So let's go.
I think that the 3 exercises for chest that I have always done, the first year when I started training and the last year when I was training, is bench press, incline press in different levels. So to start low, medium, and high, and then flies.
Okay, so doing bench press at, you know, different levels of incline, not always staying flat. So looking at his chest development, you know he was always doing very inclined workouts for chest, right? That's really good. So keep going.
I mean, to me,
and then flies.
The flies was an exercise that gave me the full pectoral muscle development, because I went all the way out and almost hitting the ground. And I was a big believer in expanding the chest as much as possible and giving that stretch.
So that is true. So if you look at the way he's doing the flies in the video, now he says hitting the ground almost. Right away, people are like, is that supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to go that low? If you actually watch how he does it, he's not hitting the ground. It might feel that way, but when he's doing the flies, he has such really good mind-muscle connection that when he's going all the way back, you can see that. Remember, again, when I talked to you guys about doing flies, you want to make sure that your fist is above your chest, right? Doesn't really matter how low your elbow goes, as long as you keep that fist above the chest, we are expanding that clavicle head of the muscle. We're actually expanding every little bit of fibers in the chest without putting that lower in the shoulder. So you have so much more room, even though your elbow's dipping back and down, we're getting that extreme stretch, then we can force the elbow out and then pushing through. He's getting that full stretch and that full flex that he says, right? And that's totally true. So those exercises are for sure 100%. If you're gonna do any exercise to build your chest, I would do, you know, like a 15-degree incline, 45-degree incline, and then do flies. You can literally do that and exhaust your muscle. I would say do it like in a set of 10 to 15 rep range, 3-second negative. There you go. But
because remember, with muscles, the important thing always is to get the stretch and to get the flex. And so to me, that going all the way out with the dumbbells as far as you can to get that stretch, and then to come in and then to have the dumbbells touch and then flex like you're doing the most muscle on top.
So do you have to have the dumbbells to touch? No, you do not. Reason being is because you're not getting any more range of motion doing this. It makes people think that you have to do this and touch this way. So he's saying it and describing it where you're doing this, but when you actually watch him do the set, he's actually like this. He's actually pushing out. He's not doing this at all. When he says the stretch and the flex, he's talking about the isometric contraction at the bottom of the lift and then the isometric contraction at the top of the lift. So he's just saying the stretch contraction and the full contraction. He's bang on for that. Do you need to touch the dumbbells? No, you don't. Don't just try banging the weights the whole time. So we'll go to the next one. So we're gonna go back now.
Bent over rowing with a barbell and the T-bar rowing. I mean, any kind of a rowing exercise that gives you the thickness. Those are the exercises I always rely to, again, from the beginning to the end.
So when it comes to your overall back, yes, rowing, those kind of rows, barbell rows, bent over rows, are gonna help with thickness. They do. But when it comes to overall width, we wanna do everything or anything that has to do with your hands above your head and pulling down. You want to do any kind of vertical pull is going to help with back width. Any kind of horizontal pull from this way or from a deficit is going to help with back thickness, right? So think of the muscles that are engaged in your back. And he'll kind of say it, but this is what he's trying to say.
There's a lot of bodybuilders that have a kind of a deficiency when it comes to the lower back and to the striation of the lower back, which you only get from stiff-legged deadlift and from regular deadlift and from bent over rowing and all the stuff without supporting your chest.
So yes, doing anything in a hinged position, you are stabilizing a lot from your erectors, your glutes, your hamstrings. But we have to be very careful of that, to not put all the emphasis on that. We want to make sure that when we're in that position that yes, we're stabilizing from that area when we're in that hinged position. So when you're rowing, your glutes have to be engaged, your hamstrings have to be engaged, and your core has to be engaged. So you're not putting so much stress on your lower back. Now, your lower back doing those movements, will they help with striations? No, they don't help with striations. Striations are developed by dieting, right? Now, the more you rep, the more you work your muscles, when you are at that low body fat, you see a lot more detail because you have worked that muscle a lot. But doing that exercise simply will not make you have better striations, okay? So just make sure you guys get that clear. I want to see you guys sitting there doing a bunch of, bent over. I'm trying to get striated back muscles here. My back feels terrible, but I'm trying to get striated back muscles and shit. Then you got freaking lumbar issues trying to get striated back. Anyway, moving on.
And let the lower back hold you up while you're doing the bent over rowing. And we did like...
Now I know you guys saw that. I'm gonna get my editor to put that up again. This is one of those things that you have to make very clear to all of you out there. You guys who are beginner lifters, or you guys who are just hardcore lifters. Because I did it myself. I would, when I was coming up, anyone who I liked that was a bodybuilder or just trained, I would try to mimic how they do certain movements because, if he's doing it like that, that's how you gotta do it. If he's doing it, it's gonna work for me. Please, guys, do not ever do pulls like this. Do not do any rows like this with this much momentum at all, okay? Like Arnold is, this is just old school stuff. Bah, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my Arnold. I'm sorry. Anyway, guys, don't do that, right? Like Arnold is a specimen. What he does, his body allowed him to do, right? Not everybody can do that. When you're doing rows like that, make sure we are engaging our core. You can stretch a bit. It's totally fine. You can reach, right? But make sure my back isn't doing this when I'm reaching, right? If we're reaching, we're still here, right? As long as you can maintain that neutral spine, but don't reach and you're just like, oh, lumbar spine, break my back. Like, don't do that, okay?
Balancing on the bench up to 315 pounds bent over rowing, because that's what gave you then that strength in the back and gave you the thickness of the back. Because remember, when you train the back, you need the width and you need the thickness.
What he means by doing bench, he used to do barbell rows on a bench, like literally balancing act. You know how big a bench is, right? Do you need to do that to train your back to get a stronger back or erectors? No, you do not. You don't. I don't like specific erector training to begin with. I don't like doing hyperextensions and all that stuff like that. We're doing a lot of that in everything we do. If you have a good squat day, like this muscle is working its ass off. You don't have to isolate your back muscles and do a bunch of exercise. And if you do, it's something as easy as doing like Superman's on the ground, body weight. We're just really flexing the muscle and being an isometric hold. You don't want to sit there and be jacking up weight on your lower back. Sit on your lower back, right? No, I did that.
Jump up and get down. Jump.
You need the thickness on the lower part of the back, you need the thickness on the top of the back and the outer back and then the center back. So you got to train in the find X.
Yo, I like that scientific terminology.
Top of the back and the outer back and then the center back. So you got
the top of the back, the outer back, and the center back. Okay, so he's saying the entire back, from side to side, up to down. That's what he's talking about when you're doing those movements. I would have had like I said, a vertical pull in there. You know what I mean? So if you guys are looking for width, again, vertical pulls. Thickness, horizontal pulls, or horizontal from a deficit pulls. All right, let's go on to arms.
curls, barbell curls. I was up doing reps with 275 in the barbell curl.